this is what I call a spider chart. And in here, we've got listed the key considerations. And I'll break this down here in a minute. But you've got at the top the functionality requirements. What everybody thinks that if I'm looking at software, the biggest issue is, well, does it fit my needs? That's the functionality. But there's more to it. To the left, you see the company, cultural fit, core values. So examining the components of your vendor and their size and their strategy and their past financial performance and future financial performance is also a key critical piece. Then you look to the right and you look at the solution roadmap, which is like, okay, well, how do they typically roll this system out to their users? Then you look down, you see technology. And then to the left, you see the cost of ownership. And then the bottom is the implementation confidence, which is really, I call it the ecosystem. So this is like a spider chart. So it's really the grades that your team gives every vendor on all of these different points. But below this, you've got a lot of questions that you have to answer. So looking at technology, it's more about, does this technology of the vendors fit the technology strategy that I have for my company? So if you're the CIO, you've got a technology strategy. Does it match with what the vendor has? There's some vendors out there that are IBM AS400 iSeries centric. There's some vendors out there that are all Microsoft centric. Oracle has its own proprietary base. SAP has its own proprietary technology platforms. So understanding those platforms and the pros and cons of those. And then I think a lot of this also surrounds the cloud, which is one thing I say about the cloud is that it makes these decision processes very cloudy, so to speak. Pardon the pun. But I found that many people today don't quite understand what are their options with the cloud today and with the various vendors. And that just is one more factor that continues to make this process more complex than perhaps it should be. So technology is a very important part of this. Also, then we get to the functional fit. And I believe that a major question you should be asking yourself is, what is my industry and who are the vendors that are doing the best in my industry? The research that we do for our clients is all industry focused. So let's say we're in food and beverage. Well, who are the top vendors in food and beverage and what's their market share? And who are their customers? How many new customers are they selling in my industry every year? If I'm in food and beverage, I want a vendor that's strong in that industry, not necessarily a vendor that's really strong, let's say, in aerospace or metal fabrication, because the requirements are totally different. Yes, it's ERP as a core and as a skeleton, but when you get down into industry by industry, the functional requirements change significantly. Then we have the company itself. I believe that it's important to really do due diligence on the company. You need to go to the company, get to meet the company, meet the executives. You need to understand their history. Where are they going? And what are they doing in your industry? What's their strategy in your industry? So going to their headquarters, attending their user conference, those are all great ideas. Another consideration is the ecosystem. You could call this implementation. But every one of these vendors has a large ecosystem of partners. And the partners either supply some point solutions that they plug in as third parties to the vendor's software, or they might have a team of implementation consultants that can be hired that might have intellectual property software that they've written just for your industry. So it's important to understand that not only how many consultants do you have in the mothership, which is the vendor, but how many consultants are worldwide and in North America in these different implementation partners. How many implementation partners are there? And then when you look at the ecosystem too, you want to look at their support, their after go live support, and their pre go live support. You want to be looking at, if I'm in a particular industry and I'm in automotive, do they have an automotive industry group within their company that meets on a regular basis, that feeds requirements for the auto industry to the vendor for the development of new features for their next release? So that's a number of considerations that should help you if you are looking at a new system in 2018.